All right, let's take a look at just one day on our planet, December 29th, 2025. It's kind of wild when you think about it. On one side of the world, a new weapon is being unveiled that could change the face of warfare. On another, a nation is essentially being born. We're going to see how these totally separate events actually paint a pretty clear picture of our world right now. So, let's dive in.
So what's the thread connecting a brand new, frankly terrifying hypersonic missile to the birth of a nation that's been waiting for this moment for decades? I mean, on the surface, nothing at all, right? But here's the thing. They both happen today, December 29th. And if we look a little closer, they start to show us these really interesting patterns of global power, of ambition, and, well, identity. Let's try and connect those dots. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First up, we're going to dig into Russia's new hypersonic missile. It's a real game changer. Then we'll head over to India and look at a huge new energy project, plus a pretty important moment of cultural reflection. And we'll wrap things up with a major geopolitical shift in Africa that honestly has been brewing for a very long time. All right, first up, we're jumping right into the deep end of military tech. We're talking about a weapon that is making some serious waves in security circles all over the world. This is the Oreshnik missile. So what in the world is the Oreshnik? Well, it's a hypersonic ballistic missile. But the really crucial part, the thing you need to remember, is its payload. It's carrying something called MIRVs. That's a mouthful, right? It stands for Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicles. The best way to think about it is like this. Imagine a single bus that once it gets up into space, lets off a bunch of passengers. And each one of those passengers, which are actually warheads, can go to a completely different city. You can see how that makes defending against it, well, almost impossible. Now, let's just look at the raw numbers here, because they're pretty staggering. We're talking about a speed of around Mach 10. That's 10 times the speed of sound. Insanely fast. It has a range of about 5,000 kilometers, which puts pretty much all of Europe within striking distance. And look, this isn't some drawing on a whiteboard. This thing is real. It was actually used for the first time in Ukraine back in late 2024. So yeah, it's a proven threat on the battlefield right now. So why is everyone so concerned? Why is this such a big deal? Well, it's basically a triple threat. First, it's just so incredibly fast that current warning systems are almost useless. Second, it can maneuver unpredictable ways, so you can't just track its path. And third, with those MIRVs, it can launch multiple warheads to completely overwhelm any defense system you might try to use against it. This isn't just a small step up. It's a weapon that basically makes a lot of existing defense strategies obsolete. And that, well, that could easily kick off a whole new and very scary arms race. Okay, so we've just talked about the power to destroy. Now let's completely switch gears and talk about the power to build. We're moving from military tech to electrical energy, taking a look at a massive new infrastructure project happening in Northeast India. 250 megawatts, that's the number you need to know. That is the amount of new, clean power that just got switched on from just one unit of the 𝗬𝗵𝗲 hydroelectric project. I mean, that is a huge boost for the region's energy supply, and it was just officially inaugurated by the Union Minister of Power. Now, this is actually the largest dam in Northeast India. But what's really interesting here is the design. It's what's known as a run-of-the-river project. Basically, that means it doesn't need a gigantic reservoir, so it has a much smaller environmental impact than some of those older massive dams. And maybe the most important part, this is just the beginning. It's the very first in a whole series of dams planned for this river, which tells you this is a major strategic push to secure the region's energy future. You know, while governments and engineers are focused on strategic power, millions and millions of people today are focused on a different kind of strength, spiritual strength. So let's turn to a story of faith and remembrance. All around the world, Sikhs are observing the Prakash Utsav of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Courage, justice, righteousness, and service. Those are the ideals at the very heart of the teachings of the 10th Sikh Guru, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji. His life and his message are being honored today, with leaders like India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and communities all over the globe paying tribute. So, for anyone who might not be familiar, Prakash Utsav celebrates the birth anniversary of the Sikh Gurus. It's a really important day, and it's marked not just with prayer, but with something called seva, selfless community service. It's a core belief of the faith, and you're seeing it put into action all around the world today. And you know, that theme of service and justice actually brings us right back into the world of national security. In India today, a major conference is underway to strengthen the country's strategy against terrorism. The message coming out of this anti-terrorism conference is loud and clear: zero tolerance.
Now, that's been India's official policy for a while, but holding this big conference is a very deliberate move. It's a way of forcefully recommitting to that tough stance, making sure there's absolutely no ambiguity about the country's approach.
So, what does zero tolerance actually look like on the ground? Well, the National Investigation Agency, the NIA, is heading up this summit, and the big goal is to build a security framework that's more unified and, frankly, a lot more tech-savvy. They're trying to get everyone on the same page, break down those old barriers between agencies, and create a real Team India approach to handling these threats. Okay, for our last story of the day, we're zooming out to the Horn of Africa. A diplomatic decision was just made that has redrawn a small but incredibly significant part of the world map. To really get what's happening today, we have to rewind all the way back to 1991. That's when Somaliland declared independence from Somalia. And for over 30 years, think about that, more than 3 decades, it's been operating as a self-governing state. It has its own government, its own currency, it's been relatively stable, but it's been in this bizarre diplomatic limbo, not officially recognized by a single other country. Well, that just changed. Today, Israel became the very first nation to formally recognize Somaliland as an independent state.
And as you can imagine, the reaction was instant and intense. From the point of view of Somaliland and Israel, this is just the logical, long overdue recognition of a stable, functioning nation. But from Somalia's perspective, and the perspective of the African Union, this is a massive violation of their country's sovereignty. They see it as an act that could seriously destabilize the entire Horn of Africa.
So we end up right back where we started. A new weapon, a new source of power, a renewed commitment to old values and new security strategies, and literally a new line drawn on the map. These aren't just random stories from a Tuesday. They are a perfect snapshot of a world that is grappling with so much change at once. Fast-moving technology, shifting alliances, and this constant push and pull between a nation's own ambitions and the stability of its entire region. The real question isn't just about what happened today, but what seeds have just been planted for tomorrow.